Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We're at Rochester Parkour. My name is Nicole, and today we're going to be learning about some step faults. First off, let's get our bodies warm. So for warm up today, we're going to do some single leg toe touches. So finding space, make sure your movement space is nice and open. Standing on one leg, we're going to lift up. This back leg is going to trail behind us. We're going to try and keep our hips stable as we reach down opposite. Today is about opposite motion, opposite braces, contralateral motion specifically. So we'll talk more about that. So with that opposite hand, you're going to reach down, touch that toe or your shin or your knee or the ground in front of you, and you're gonna pull back up without setting that foot down, get some balance action going on. We're gonna do a few repetitions of those to get warmed up. Grabbing the ground, grabbing your toe. Awesome. I'm going to switch directions so you can see different angles. You are gonna just keep on balancing. Reaching up, maybe one more. Woo! Have some better balance than me, hopefully. Perfect. Switching sides. Single leg toe touches, reaching back up. And what we want to try and make sure we're not doing is bouncing through that mobility. So as we reach, we're pulling ourselves up with control. I'm going to switch sides again, or switch directions. Different viewing. Awesome. A few more. Again, we're pulling ourselves up. We're not bouncing through. Nice and controlled. Awesome. Next, we're gonna do some hip openers. So having some space in front of you, we're gonna lunge out wider than you think. We're dropping this back knee down to the ground. If you've got to scoot your foot out a little further, you can. This side with the back leg, for me right now, it's my right side, is what I'm trying to open up. So I'm also gonna send that arm overhead, make that whole chain nice and open. As I dip down and bend that knee towards the ground, I'm gonna maybe just hover slightly as I reach back with my opposite, trying to reach my heel, my calf, my knee, whatever, the air. And we're just gonna feel that big open wing step up. I'm gonna turn around so they say on screen, and we're gonna switch sides each time. So as we lunge forward, big step, this side now for me opening up. And we're gonna, oh, I didn't switch sides, oops. Hopefully you did. As we reach up and nice to the sky, reaching back with opposite arm, trying to find that calf. And then now I'm going to switch sides where I open up, left arm up. And as I reach back, opposite arm, thinking about engaging in my belly, making sure not to crunch in my spine. I'm gonna do another one on that side. Big lunge forward. Drop that knee, arm to the sky, opposite reaches back. We're gonna do two more, one on each side. Boom. Open, reach back. This is gonna be a really big hip opener. Last side, reaching forward. Woo. Arm up, reach back. Oh, yep. Awesome. Let's do some shoulder circles because we're gonna be bracing and supporting ourselves a lot today. So really nice, big, slow, arms go up, parallel, out and around. We're trying to make sure that we don't allow our rib cage to follow. So we're staying nice and static. We're not opening to get wider range of motion. One more. And switch directions. Back up in. Again, not letting that rib cage follow along. Nice neutral spine. Engage belly. Awesome, last one. Cool. Today's name of the game is step faults. That relates directly to a specific ground movement pattern that we in the gym call QM forward. QM stands for contralateral, QM starts for quadrupedal motion. Today, I swear, I feel like with the sunshine, my brain is scrambled, which is wonderful and excellent. So I hope you're doing awesome as well. Contralateral motion, moving in opposites, QM forward, quadrupedal motion, QM for short. We're gonna start with some ground movement as practice going forward. So making sure for today, I'm not gonna do tons of reps for you. So if you wanna pause the video at any time and practice more, feel free to do so. Awesome. So we're just gonna do a few things all together. Dropping down into our table, we're making sure that our wrists are stacked underneath our shoulders. We're pressing up, avoiding putting our knees on the ground. We're thinking about keeping our back parallel when we're moving in opposites. So my right hand's gonna move forward, my left foot moves forward. And from here, I wanna make sure my knee does not surpass my elbow, and I can switch, and switch, and switch. There's a nice balance element here. In order to accentuate that, we can make this even more challenging by pausing longer when those two limbs are removed. So there's only one hand, one opposite foot on the ground, and we're gonna nice and hold that position during those interchanges. So again, getting into our tabletop start, we're gonna lift up and place. Lift up and place. Making sure to try and keep that back nice and parallel. This can go even a step further for more balanced challenge. We can incorporate a bird dog. So what we're gonna do is those free limbs that we were just holding in the air, we're gonna actually take the time to touch knee to elbow. Then we're going to extend out, technically flex. We're gonna do big shoulder flexion. We're gonna lift that heel up and behind us, squeeze the glute, and we're gonna experience that moment in life, and then they can come back together and we can take a step forward. So we get into our table. We're gonna balance, touch, open, and place. Balance, touch, open, place. And that's just more ways that we can make that challenge more challenging, evolve for us. So everything we can do forwards, theoretically we can do backwards. So we're gonna give that a shot. Backward quadrupedal motion, backward QM for short, really needs to make sure that our feet don't get away from us. So as we work through these motions, we need to think about them being nice and tiny, little interchanges, not letting our feet reach super far back, because then we have to press so hard with our shoulders and it's just silly. So we're gonna get into that tabletop position again, making sure that there's room behind us. And all we're doing is thinking about moving one hand in the opposite foot. So I'm gonna do my right hand, my left foot. They're gonna reach back, place, and I switch. And I balance. And all the while, I'll look between my legs to make sure that I'm not gonna hit a family member, a beloved animal, all sorts of things. Cool. For that backward QM, we can evolve it again, the same as we did before, really isolating and focusing on those holds, taking longer time between the interchanges. We'll do one of those. Nice pause balance, keeping your back flat and parallel. Awesome. We can also incorporate the elbow to knee touch and that big opener bird dog. So from that backward quadrupedal motion, do balance, touch, open, place. Balance, touch, open, place. Awesome. Quadrupedal motion. All of that moving in opposites, that contralateral, relates directly to our walking. We as bipedal creatures walk all the time, and something that happens that you don't think about is your opposite hand swings in front of your opposite foot. And again, we don't pay much mind to it until you're like, what is this person doing? Walking like a robot. And they just think it's so strange to move unilaterally. So we can take this motion and we can play with it even further, utilizing what we call step supports. So from that quadrupedal motion forward or backward, we were practicing lifting up 2 limbs at the same time, and there was a moment where we tried to challenge ourselves to pause. From there, we can actually do a little pivot and create this really neat 2 point of contact support that we call step support. So again, getting back into your quadrupedal stance, I'm gonna take my left hand and my right foot, and they're gonna stay magnetized to the ground. And as I lift up as if I'm gonna practice moving forward or backward, I could instead take a moment, freeze, and I could rotate. From here, I have most of the weight on my arm, fairly evenly distributed with my leg. I'm making sure to take my knee, pointing it up to the sky, not letting it collapse. And then most importantly, we gotta find the ability to tuck this 3rd limb, this dangle leg that we affectionately call it in the gym. We gotta tuck it up into our home. So what we wanna make sure doesn't happen is that leg is reaching out willy-nilly out to the side perhaps, or behind us. We wanna find a way to pull it inside this triangular home of step support. So from the ground, we can resume. You can also go back to that quadrupedal stance and get your rotation in. Don't worry, we'll get a lot of rotations. But from that single arm, single leg, we can lift up, and we wanna make sure that this foot can stay nice and tucked in, that it wouldn't trip and hit behind us. And in order to do that, we gotta lift our hips up and behind. Really putting that shoulder directly over that wrist, making sure that we're not getting into some crazy levers, making sure to stay stacked. I'm also pressing out through my shoulder. I'm not letting myself sit in my skeleton. So again, knee up to the sky, pressing through my shoulder, big open, big hips up and behind me, and I can feel that side brace. I'm gonna move to a different position and switch sides so you can see a different angle. But from that ground, one arm press through my shoulder, knee up to the sky, lift, and I'm in that nice step support. Awesome. Cool. So from there, now we can actually create some interchanges. We can do some nice switching of sides. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start from our tabletop position. We're gonna put our hand and try and visualize. I have an artifact in the ground that's truly a line, which is awesome. If you can generate that at home, super cool. And if not, use your imagination or take 2 pillows and line them up so that out of your way, but in your visual field, you can kind of guess where that line is in space. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start our tabletop directly over that line. And I'm gonna kind of shift my hand because in my tabletop, I have 2 points of contact to either side, and that line is running down the midline. Instead, I'm gonna shift my hand, I'm gonna shift my foot, and I'm gonna achieve that step support position. And then what we're gonna do is switch. So from tabletop, hand on the midline, foot on the midline, we're gonna get that step support home, foot tucked in the home. From here, my free hand can pivot down. It can grab below, most likely. You're welcome to grab above if you happen to be in a more compressed state. But what we want to avoid doing is opening up too wide so that my arm is now so far away that I have this terrible lever. I want to keep that wrist underneath my shoulder as best as possible. So again, from my step support, I'm gonna turn, hand is gonna match, foot is gonna match, and now I can switch sides, and I'm now facing away from you, woohoo! And my leg is tucked up into my home, my hips are up and behind me, my shoulder is over my arm, and I can switch. Awesome. Do 2 more, I'll do 2 more. You do as many as you want. Pause away. Super great. From here, catch my breath a little bit. From here, now we can get really creative. We're gonna learn about step switches, but first we gotta do this so static and controlled. I'm gonna use a couple of objects that we have in the gym, specifically tape rolls, to help you visualize what I'm talking about. So a lot of the next bit's gonna be about angles. I'm gonna create a visual line in space that's actually on my artifact, which is nice. This is kind of our 0 line. We're always gonna be operating with our hands in the center of this 0 line. And I'm gonna take another color, another representation, and I'm gonna extend out what I want to be a 90-degree angle. So I'm gonna create a big open space that my hands and feet won't get in the way of, that sort of represents that line. So here's 0 line, and here, if I draw out, would be a 90-degree angle, piece of the pie, so to speak. So here's our 180 full, and here we're working in that 90-degree zone. So again, hands go to the center. I'm using the step support. What I want to do is, from a seated position, I'm going to press and lift myself up, and I'm going to match that hand, but instead of matching my foot in place, I'm actually going to draw and trace a big arc as far as I feel comfortable. Maybe it ends up going all the way to the 90. So as I lift up, I match that hand, and I'm going to trace that leg as far as I feel comfortable. And then I can switch into that opposite side step support, and I can take a break and I can sit my hips down. Cool. As that gets more and more comfortable, and I'm reaching that foot around, and again, just because my tape roll is way over there doesn't mean my foot needs to go over there. This is just helping my brain know where that 90-degree line is. So from my hands approximately in the middle, I'm gonna lift up, and as I match those hands, I'm gonna reach that foot as best I can towards that 90. And as I switch sides and pull that leg up through, maybe I've achieved that 90-degree step switch. And I can get myself back down. Keep in mind that this direction is one-sided. So in order to switch sides from my 180, I now reorient myself around this opposite-sided 90-degree slice. Thinking a lot about pie these days. From here, my hands still staying oriented in the middle. I can lift up through that step support, and I can match my hands, reach my foot, switch sides. Awesome. We can play with that further by taking my 90-degree marker. And if I go back to that original left hand, right foot, 90-degree oriented space, I can now take this marker and I can put it a little bit further. Thinking about making more of an obtuse angle here. I'm not mathy enough to know what that angle is, but we're gonna pretend. So from here, hands to the center, foot, knee oriented to the sky, pressing down through my shoulder, lifting up in my step support. I grab that hand, and I'm gonna reach that foot as best I can. I can see myself down. And I can reverse it here if I'd like, instead of thinking about that flipped mirror, whatever works for your brain. So sometimes just going straight back into place feels good. And if not, and you wanna restart from the beginning and switch sides, you're welcome to do that. From here, reach, I'm putting myself down. So now I'm gonna take my marker, I'm gonna make it go a little further. See if I can't manage that. Arms reaching, achoo. I lift up. Cool. Eventually, we can strive for that full 180 degrees, thinking about that line being on top of one another. I've opened up that whole half slice of pie now. And as I get myself up into my step support, I can reach that hand. I can lean and really think. The wider your angle, the more you really need to think about leaning over those shoulders, leaning forward in this case, away from where you were drawing that radial, and making sure to reach that foot around. We're gonna transfer the weight into the center, switch sides, and then back to step support. Hand, foot, center, release. Awesome. Cool. From the ground, we said to grab chairs. I need water, 1 second. Coaching water break. You should get water too. Okay. If you happen to have a couple of nice sturdy chairs, feel free to get them now. Beautiful thing about these chairs and the fact that they are not an actual physical box is that we have the liberty of moving through this invisible wall. So if this were a box, obviously I would not be able to kick through the box. Here with these chairs, the world is my oyster. As my husband said, the cave is my oyster. We're stuck in a cave, but we can do whatever we want in that cave. Cool. So here we are. I'm gonna make these chairs about, I don't really know how to measure this for you. That's about good. Making sure you can get your heels up on the other side, that they're not too far away. Things to consider, making sure that they will not slide out too easily. So we're gonna do our best to put pressure down into them. However, if you've got those little floor protectors on them and you're on hardwood floors right now, maybe not. Go find rubber feet that your couch has or whatever and make them be sticky. So this step support relates directly back in to that quadrupedal motion. As quadrupedal creatures, when we're moving QM on the floor, crawling, if I take that off the ground, so to speak, into this three-dimensional world, yes, we're always in three-dimensional worlds, but bear with me, I can apply that step support technique to this raised surface. So in this case, I'm gonna take it a step back. I'm gonna use 3 points of contact. I'm gonna go back to balancing on one leg, just like we did in the beginning with our toe touches. This left hand is gonna grab the surface. I'm gonna get that foot up. This is a nice 3-point support. I'm gonna think about that knee lifting to the sky as I press and load and lift that leg up into the step support that we practiced on the ground. From here, I can get myself back down, do whatever I want. Eventually, I want to visualize that this is a solid surface, or laser, or sharks, or boogers, whatever makes you feel happy right now. And as I get that one hand, one foot, I'm gonna try and lift that step support leg, that third dangle leg, up into my home, avoiding this pretend surface, and I'm gonna reach it out to the ground. Cool.
Audrey's asking, what if you set them up in a hallway?
Ooh, that's smart. As long as it's not too close. They're really, really close together in a hallway. My only concern or thing that I would want to make sure you're thinking of is that that can happen. Didn't mean to be that aggressive. So making sure that you don't clip your toes on the edges of these chairs. So just keeping that in mind. But I love that idea that the chairs being against the wall can't press out and away. Super cool. So that is definitely an option. I'm gonna get this a little wider. Cool. So from here, we're gonna switch sides now with this 3-point support. One hand, one foot, we're pressing ourselves up. We're thinking about lifting our hips up and behind us, over, down, back to our 3-point support, and we can step through. Congratulations, you just did a step vault. You're amazing. Going back through my chair. We can also do these backwards, just like we quadrupedal crawled forwards. We also can QM and quadrupedal backward. We're gonna do that with vaults as well. So in the gym, what I like to say is that we're not trucks backing it up, so we're not gonna like turn around and walk backwards into this chair situation, because that's just silly. We wanna think of rotation. So I'm a human. I'm going to think about my right hand going across my body towards this left chair. And as I reach, I create rotation. This rotation happens to be counterclockwise. So as I create counterclockwise rotation and I put that hand on the chair, my hand is there, everything is amazing in life. Now my opposite foot's gonna reach back and I'm gonna spot it and make sure that it gets that point of contact. I'm now in my 3-point support. And as I lift that leg up and behind me, I can acquire that 3-point support again. Now, the vault is not over because I was rotating counterclockwise. I need to keep that rotation happening as I open up and finish. Cool. Let's do that again, opposite side. So from here, I create rotation. So I'm gonna step towards my chairs with my left foot. I'm gonna send my left hand towards my right chair. Point of contact, reach back, spot that toe. I'm gonna keep my hips up, lifted up and behind me as I step over this invisible wall, 3 points of contact. And then I press through and complete my circle. Now, fun options. We could, if we're feeling really confident in our chairs, in our slippery floor situation, as this feels really good, we can start adding in a little bit of dynamic momentum. So what we're gonna think about doing is tucking that dangle leg up, in, and behind us a little bit more quickly. So as I get that hand and foot placed, I'm gonna lift up and then have that nice brace and pull through. Awesome. On both sides. We're still making 3 points of contact, but I'm thinking about lifting that leg up and pulling it through. If that's feeling wonderful, you're really satisfied with your setup and you're feeling really confident about things, we can start to jump. So this first back leg, the one that interacts with the top of the chair, that can actually knee drive a bit. We can hop our hips up. Keep in mind, I am the tallest human. My hips are here. This is way lower than my hips. I don't really need to jump high up in the air. I just need to hop. I need to lift up my body just a teeny tiny bit. I'm already starting to reach down to the ground, and in doing so, I'm bending over, meaning that my hips are already starting to lift. So this is a very nice low approach to a jump. But as my hand reaches towards that one side of the chairs, my other foot's gonna hop just a little bit, press off this back leg, and I can try and lift that leg up into that dynamic step support a little bit more quickly and step through. Woohoo! Ooh, Audrey, you're great. You're awesome. Audrey with the win for Yoga Mat Central of making sure her chairs won't slide out and away from her so she can work on those awesome dynamic step supports that I know she's getting good at. Super cool. So now on this side, I'm using my right hand, my left foot on my chair. I'm gonna think about jumping just a bit. I'm gonna spot my foot because I really wanna make sure it gets where I want it to go. And I lift that dangle leg foot up, stepping through and out. As those feel really comfortable, we can get a little crazy. We can put forward step vaults together with backward step vaults. How do I wanna show this? I think I'll do it both ways, okay. We're gonna start with forward step vaults first, and I'm gonna be going towards you, and I'll do it again, forward step vaults away from you. So here we are. I'm gonna start left hand, right foot, forward step vault. On this side, I'm gonna create a rotation. I'm gonna get my feet down. I'm gonna turn them around so that my opposite hand, right hand, left foot, step back towards you. So left hand forward, stepping around, creating that contralateral. Oh my goodness, I can't word today. What's the opposite of the clock? Help me out.
Clockwise?
Not clockwise, but counterclockwise. I'm sorry, everybody.
Or if you're British, they say anti-clockwise.
Or anti-clockwise. Go you Brits. Okay. And now I already ruined it, so we gotta start over. Left hand forward. Counterclockwise. Right hand backward. Woohoo! Going towards you. Left hand forward. Right hand backwards. As you're starting to get more dynamic with those backward step vaults, spot your foot. Your hand is gonna go where you want it to go. Your foot could miss. Your foot could heel the back of the chair. All sorts of things can happen. You gotta think about your hips going up and behind you as you lean forward, and you wanna look down and spot that foot where you want it to go. So let's switch sides. Right hand forward. Step, step. Left hand backward. Woohoo! Do that again. Right hand forward. Whoop. Left hand backward. Things to think about as well. Because we're rotating, we don't want this rotation to happen in our knees. So feel free to take as many steps on this side of the world as you feel like you need to. One possible challenge is to make this only 2 points of contact on that side, as long as you are not experiencing rotation in your knee. No bueno. So let's go back to the left hand forward. Step, step, maybe back through. And then we can repeat forward left hand. Step, step, back. Woo, kicking my chair. Excellent. I love it. So just a new way to think about these step vaults out in the world. If you happen to have low walls, then you really get to experience what it's like to have that full vault effect. Keep that dangle leg up in the home. Make that step support nice and beautiful. Go back to those ground floor drills and have some fun. Love the comment, yoga mat, super good. Audrey, I miss you. I miss playing. We're playing now. That's awesome. But that is all I have for today. If you have any other questions for us, let us know. We are gonna be cutting. Oh no, we're not cutting. We're gonna transition. We're new with these transitions. It's exciting. We're gonna transition and do a little bit of activation mobility work and then do a couple of nice feel-good stretches. So we'll see you in a second.
And just like that, we do a quick little scene switch. Ta-da, welcome. Instead of cutting and doing a different mobility section for today, we're actually just going to go right into mobility. We're not gonna do as much as we normally do for like a mobility class or anything else like that. We're just gonna do some activations. You're never done with activations. You thought you were gonna get away, but you are not. So there's a couple things that I really wanted to get to that we haven't been able to do yet. And something, since we're already like primed and ready and going around and doing good stuff, we're gonna activate through our upper back and our posterior chain just a little bit. We're gonna get in a position where we got some open space. We're gonna get our legs out in front of us just as so. What I want you to really think about is getting your hands back towards you. We're gonna start off by rotating our arms back behind us. You're gonna put them pointed back behind you. And what I want you to think about doing, we're gonna do some reverse planks. You're gonna press down through your palms, and I want you to lift your hips as high as you can. And when you're here, you're also gonna think about crunching your shoulder blades together. And what you're not gonna do is arch your lower back. Instead, you're going to clench through that core. You're gonna hold yourself still. If you've never done hollow bodies with us, you can learn how to do a hollow body by lowering yourself back vertebrae by vertebrae from the seated position. We're trying to keep just our lower back connected to the floor. You want your shoulder blades up. You'll feel all of that wonderful tension that goes through your core. We want to keep that while we're doing this reverse plank. I know it seems weird. We always want to think about like pressing through and get that belly button up. It's not your belly button that we care about. It's your hips. So again, we open, we rotate those arms out. And then we think about pressing down with our heels. We squeeze our stomach. We crunch those shoulder blades together. And we're gonna hold ourselves up here for 30 seconds. I know, 30 seconds. I'm gonna try to count in my head. I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea. Oh, I can cheat, there's a clock back there. Ha ha ha. You're doing great. Just a couple more seconds. And we slowly come on down. We can shake that out through our arms. I want to do the same exact thing, but this time, we're going to put our fingers pointed out to the sides of us. Instead of rotating all the way, pointing them back behind us, they're going to go out to the sides. Same idea. We get ourselves set. We're thinking about pressing through our arms. We crunch our shoulder blades together. We might need to reposition. You want to crunch those shoulder blades. Get those hips up nice and high. Press those heels down on the floor. If you're anything like me, you've got a little bit of a bicep stretch going on. That's cool. There'll be more of that soon. Just a little bit longer. And very nice. All right, we got one more to get through. You're gonna shake that out. This one might be a little intense for some of you, but I promise, try to work through it to the best of your ability. If you need to substitute out anything or kind of cut it back a little bit, that's totally fine as well. Instead of rotating all the way backward, instead of rotating out to the side, we're gonna rotate inward. And we're gonna get our arms set. And we're gonna point our fingers towards our heels. And the same idea is true. We're gonna press down through those arms. And once you press down through those arms, I want you to try to rotate your arm. And I'll do this as best as I can. If you were to anchor your hand down to the floor, you have kind of free rotation here. You can rotate out, you can rotate in. I want you to try to rotate that elbow from out to in. We're gonna think about pointing that elbow pit out in front of us as best as we can. So we're gonna get ourselves set again. We get our hands set, nice wide grip with our hands. We lift those hips on up, squeeze, and get your shoulder blades together. Breathe, that's a nice thing to do as well. I'm shaking a little bit. And down. Ooh. And shake that out. Very good. While we're at it, we're gonna stay down right here. We're gonna do a couple wonderful activations with our core. We're gonna drop ourselves down in that same sort of hollow body. We just did a lot for our shoulders. We're gonna drop down to our core. We're holding ourselves in this hollow body shape. You can keep your feet on the floor if you want, or you can lift them up. It's totally up to you. But I want you to think about is holding those arms up over the floor and then keeping the same shape. I challenge you to open them over your head and then pull them back. That's one. We're gonna do 10 of these. Ooh, and I'm making noise. Sorry about that. 2, 3, 4. I'm totally not going as far, and I promise it's for all of you so that you don't hear this crackling through my microphone. It's totally not because it's hard. I'm gonna do 2 more and 1 more. Oh, very good. All right, we're gonna get ourselves up to a standing position. I got a couple more activations to get through before we are finally done and complete. You're going to find a spot on the floor. We're gonna get our feet set straight forward and back, hip width apart. You're gonna take your weight and you're gonna put it over one leg. All I want you to think about is think about pulling that leg up just a little bit. It's gonna hover off the floor. I want you to think about where that knee is. It's gonna stay exactly as it is. It's not gonna go in front of you. It's not gonna go behind you. And all I want you to do is to pull your heel up as high as you can possibly get it. And I'll rotate real quick off to the side just so you can see. It just goes straight up. And I'm squeezing with everything I got through that hamstring right now. And you're just pulling up. And it starts off like, yeah, this is cool. What's happening? And then after a couple seconds, it really starts setting in. You go like, oh, this is actually really hard. Why is this so hard? And then you go, wait, why am I holding this up still? What is he doing? Oh no. And you want to turn the video off, but you won't because you're in this. Here we are. We're doing good stuff. Keep that heel up there. Keep squeezing. You're thinking about tucking that tailbone. Get it up nice and high. We're gonna hold for 3, 2, 1, and drop it down. Ooh, very good. And let's go ahead and switch sides. I'm gonna turn myself around. Again, we're thinking about pointing our feet straight forward and back. We're just kind of transitioning our weight over one leg. We want to hover that other leg up off the floor. And all we're doing is just bending through that knee. We get it up nice and high. Knee does not go in front of us. doesn't go behind us. We're not leaning forward or anything else like that. We're upright. You're squeezing that stomach and you're just pulling your heel up as high as you possibly can. Oh, this one's a lot harder. And just breathe. Just a little bit longer. You're all doing amazing. Even though I can't see you, I know you. You're doing great. Look at you. Doing awesome. Hold it for 3, 2, 1, and drop on down and shake that around. Ooh, very nice. Okay, we got another really important activation that we want to do today. We're going to find a spot again on the floor. And we're just going to let our legs go out in front of us. I'm going to take my shoes off for this, just so that you can really understand and see what's happening, what's going on. If you're not wearing shoes, what? Yeah, Nicole, totally. You can join. Come on in. And what I want you to think about, you're going to have your feet out in front of you. We're going to do some activations with our feet, with our arch, more specifically. You're trying to find a spot. Yeah. If my hands were my feet, my wrist was my ankle, my fingers are toes. We're gonna start off by activating. We're gonna think about dorsiflexing. That means we're gonna pull our toes back towards our knees as much as we can, but at the same time, we're gonna take our toes and we're gonna curl them. And so we're gonna think about curling straight down. At the same time, we're pulling from that knuckle straight back to our knee. We're just gonna think about holding this shape. We're activating, we're squeezing those muscles underneath our feet. We're also using this one. It's a very, very little known muscle called our tibialis anterior. We wanna really think about activating through those. Especially since we're inside for most of our daily lives right now, our feet are just kind of cooped up. We wanna make sure that we're giving them some love and attention. And relax. And you can move the toes around. We're gonna do sort of the same thing, except this time we're gonna be thinking about plantar flexing. We're gonna be pointing. And what I want you to think about, if you had the full contact of your foot underneath you, we're gonna be rotating over our heel. And I want you to try to place the entirety of your foot down on the floor in front of you. And I know it probably won't happen, likely won't happen. I don't know if even a ballerina could, you think so?
I'm not mic'd.
That's fine. They can hear you.
Probably, yeah. Ballerinas would curl.
Okay, well, we're gonna point. We're gonna try to get every inch of our foot down on the floor in front of us. And so instead of curling our toes, we're pointing our toes. You wanna make sure you're pointing straight out in front of you. We're not gonna rotate inward. We're not gonna go outward. It's just straight down. We're trying to get our entire foot flat.
Flushing the toilet.
You're flushing the toilet. Trying not to touch it. Trying to not get the disease which shall not be named. And so whereas before we were using that tibialis anterior, now we're really squeezing that calf, specifically our gastrocnemius. Boom, pressing through. I'm really thinking about getting that foot flat on the floor. And we can pull on off and shake it around.
Those are happy.
Happy toes.
Happy toes.
Happy toes are good toes. This next one is very active. And I mean to say that as in this one is very intense. It's very likely that if you've never done this before, you're gonna get into it and immediately be like, oh, cramp. If in that moment, you can either hold for just a little bit longer and then come on out, go for it. If it's too much, get on out, stretch your toes back, and you can get right back in when you're ready. We wanna hover around that area where we might feel that cramp come on. But if before we were thinking about curling our toes, we curl our toes this time, and then plantar flex through that ankle. And so we start off by curling those toes. We want to keep that curl as much as possible, and then we point. We don't want to sacrifice an extension through our ankle for opening of your toes. Keep your toes as curled as possible. Nicole found it. Look at you. You're doing awesome. Squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. You all thought you got away with this today. You're like, oh, we're just gonna do step faults.
Yeah.
Step faults, and then that's it. Haha. Whoa. We can see some storm clouds coming in.
So for those of you that know the gym, the big windows in the front, the left half is like beautiful Toy Story clouds, blue sky, and then the right half is the impending storm, dark doomsday.
And we walked here today.
It's gonna be a nice shower on the way home.
So we might need to cancel this stream a little early.
To make sure we don't die.
Here. And let go.
Oh,
shake that out.
That was a nice distraction at least.
It was good, yeah.
Hopefully I'm loud enough. I'm trying to talk loud so his mic picks it up. Sorry, everybody. Otherwise, it'll do feedback.
Very nice. While we're here, we can do a couple stretches. Might as well reach down, grab onto those toes. We activated our hamstrings, so we can now stretch them out a little bit. We can slowly come on out, shake that out. Many of us are probably staying very much in a forward and back situation in our homes. So we might try to explore a little bit of internal, external rotation. We find a spot on the floor. We're gonna think about rotating a little bit. I'm gonna drop my right knee, or I guess for you it'll be the left knee, drop straight down in front of you. I want that knee to stay connected to the floor. I'm gonna pull through that ankle again, gonna dorsiflex it. I let my hip come up, but now I'm gonna spend a moment and just kind of press it back. And I get a nice little stretch that goes through that outside area of my hip.
Talk about angles.
We want that knee to be straight out in front of us. We don't want it to be out, obtuse angle with our hip out and away. We also don't want to be super inward this way. We want it to go straight out in front of us. We want a 90-degree angle with that knee. And we're just thinking about pressing that hip back down to the floor. And we can pull that on out and switch sides. And again, you can reposition as much as you need to. Think about getting that knee straight out in front of that hip. Start off by letting that hip come up if you need to. You drop that knee all the way down to the floor, press it into the floor, and then push that hip back to the floor.
I haven't checked in with Facebook chat.
Uh-oh. You just left them all hanging.
All quiet on the Western Front. This feels good. I'm gonna enjoy this for a second.
And we'll pull out from that position. We can go ahead and put our feet together. Do something that I'm terrible at.
That's okay.
But that's okay.
Gotta practice to get better. Oh no, I have a hole almost.
Uh-oh.
Sad.
Time for some new socks.
Christmas usually.
We got a little bit until Christmas.
Yep, oh well.
Oh, my stupid hips. I gotta do this more, apparently. I want that. And we're gonna pull on out from that position. We got one more to get through before we're done for today. You can get a leg out in front of you, cross a foot on over. You could also pull that knee on in and bend through. We want both hips to be connected down to the floor though. We're gonna be stretching the glute of whatever knee happens to be up.
It got dark. The other half just became doomsday.
Oh, it looks really dark on screen too.
Uh-oh, how do I fix it?
You can do the aperture dial. Brighten us up. Yep, that one.
That's worse.
Whoa, it looks so much brighter. That's incredible, golly gee. Oh, and it's raining. We're gonna get a little shower on the way home.
Really drenched walking back. Oh well.
Oh, it's really raining.
Yeah.
Oh, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Send help. And switch sides. Again, that leg can go out in front of you, crossing that foot on over, or you can get more of intensive a stretch. Pull that foot back.
These are personal problems, having to run home in the rain.
These are even more personal problems because we are social distancing from everybody. We got to deal with this ourselves.
I know. Can't call friends. Be okay. I hope that this sounds loud enough. If you're a little more mobile, you can also take the hand of the side that knee is up. You can externally rotate so that your palm goes towards your hips, and pressing open straight arm will help kind of push my spine up, and it intensifies the stretch in a nice way for me.
Feels pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, there's more chatness.
And slowly come on out. You can shake those legs out.
Success, I can be heard fine, and Audrey says you're sneaky with your mobility. Getting the mobility in.
All right, everybody. That's all we got. Thanks so much for being a part of this. Thanks so much for doing step vaults with us today.
Yeah.
And a little bit of activations and mobility.
Yeah.
And this was pretty fun.
Step supports, step switches, quadrupedal motion, forward and backward. Remember keeping those hips up high in the sky. Tuck that leg into your home. Lots of mobility work. See you next time.